The story of Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci began at a time when no one ever imagined they would come together. Tim Burton, known worldwide for his dark, imaginative, and almost gothic style of filmmaking, and Monica Bellucci, admired for her elegance and timeless beauty, seemed like two people from completely different worlds. That is why, when news broke that they were dating, the world was stunned. It was unexpected, but that surprise made their connection even more fascinating. Fans were curious, the media was buzzing, and everywhere people wanted to know how these two personalities had found each other. Their first meeting happened at a private gathering where conversations about art and cinema naturally flowed. Monica's graceful personality instantly matched with Tim's unusual creativity, and what began as a casual exchange slowly grew into something deeper. At first, they kept their relationship private, away from the constant attention of the public, but their chemistry was impossible to hide. Whether it was the way they looked at each other during events or the quiet comfort they shared, it was clear to everyone that they were more than just friends. What made their bond unique was their differences. Monica carried herself with calmness, elegance, and a sense of sophistication, while Tim was eccentric, imaginative, and always full of wild ideas. Instead of clashing, these differences balanced each other. She brought steadiness into his world, while he added an element of surprise and wonder into hers. Their relationship in the beginning felt like a beautiful contrast, almost like a fairy tale where two completely opposite characters come together to create something unforgettable. Once their relationship became known to the public, Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci quickly turned into one of the most admired couples in the world. What had started as a quiet connection now blossomed into a bond that people described as magical. For the first few years, their relationship seemed untouchable, full of warmth, respect, and shared admiration. Whenever they appeared together at events, there was always a sense of genuine happiness between them, something that could not be staged or faked. Tim often spoke in interviews about how Monica's elegance inspired him, and Monica herself mentioned that she admired Tim's endless imagination. Their words were never exaggerated or loud, but always simple and full of sincerity. That honesty made people believe in their story even more. Fans began to see them as proof that love can happen when you least expect it, even between two people who seem to come from completely different universes. During this golden period, they managed to balance their busy careers while still making time for each other. Monica traveled across Europe for her films and modeling commitments, while Tim worked tirelessly on his cinematic projects, yet they always found a way to reconnect. Their public appearances were rare but memorable. When they walked together, hand in hand, it felt as if nothing could shake the strength of their bond. For their fans, those years felt like watching a fairy tale come to life. They weren't just a glamorous couple, they represented creativity, beauty, and passion combined. People admired not only their love, but also the way they respected each other's individuality. It was a phase where everything seemed perfect, and the world thought this story would continue without cracks or endings. As time passed, small cracks began to appear in the perfect picture that the world saw. From the outside, Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci still looked like a strong, beautiful couple. But behind the smiles and red carpet appearances, the challenges of their very different worlds slowly started to grow. Tim was a man deeply absorbed in his art. His creative process was demanding, often keeping him isolated for long hours, lost in his imagination and the dark, eccentric universes he created for his films. He was known for being so consumed by his work that he sometimes lost track of time and the people around him. Monica, on the other hand, was living a life that took her from one country to another. Between films, fashion events, and personal commitments, she had little choice but to keep moving forward at a fast pace. At first, they both tried to adjust to each other's worlds. Monica would fly to see Tim during his projects, and Tim would make the effort to travel with her whenever possible. but gradually the schedules became harder to manage. The physical distance between them started to feel like an emotional one. They still admired each other, still cared deeply, but the day-to-day reality of their lives made things complicated. Rumors began to swirl in the media. Whispers about arguments, about them not spending enough time together, about the stress of their careers taking a toll. Neither Tim nor Monica addressed these rumors directly, which only made the public more curious. Their silence was seen by many as confirmation that something was wrong. Fans, who once saw them as a fairy tale couple, began to sense that behind the elegance and charm, there was a quiet struggle happening. Despite these difficulties, they both tried to protect their relationship. They avoided drama and kept their private life as private as possible. But sometimes love alone is not enough to bridge the gap when two people's lives are moving in different directions. The signs of trouble were subtle, but for those who were watching closely, they were impossible to ignore. After 3 years together, Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci reached a point where they could no longer ignore the reality of their situation. Their relationship, once full of magic and admiration, had become weighed down by distance, busy schedules, and unspoken frustrations. They had both given their best to make it work, but sometimes even the strongest feelings cannot overcome the challenges of two very different lives. The decision to part ways was not sudden. It was something that grew over time, through long conversations, quiet reflections, and moments where they realized that their futures no longer aligned. There was no dramatic fight, no bitterness, no scandal. Instead, their separation came with maturity and respect. They chose to end their relationship the same way they had lived it, gracefully, with dignity, and with deep care for each other. When the news finally broke, it came as a shock to fans and the media alike. People could not believe that a couple who seemed so unique and inspiring had decided to go their separate ways. Speculation filled the headlines, but the truth was far simpler than the rumors. It was not betrayal, not jealousy, not anger, it was simply life. Two people with different paths realizing that love alone was not enough to hold them together forever. Even in the moment of separation, Tim and Monica made sure to protect what they had shared. They spoke of each other with kindness, never allowing negativity to overshadow the years of connection they had built. Their breakup was not the end of a love story filled with regret, but the natural closing of a chapter that had brought them both growth and memories they would always carry. For their fans, the news was heartbreaking. For Tim and Monica, it was bittersweet, a painful but necessary choice, made not out of anger but out of understanding. While the public could only guess, there were several reasons that likely contributed to Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci's breakup. Reasons that are completely believable yet deeply human. One of the biggest factors was their professional commitments. Tim is a filmmaker who immerses himself in dark, imaginative worlds, often spending months on a single project. His creativity demands solitude, long hours, and complete focus. Monica, on the other hand, has a life that constantly moves at full speed, international film shoots, modeling commitments, and public appearances. Their careers, though glamorous, created a physical and emotional distance that grew over time. Another reason was their different life priorities. Tim has always been introspective, living in a world of imagination and art, where deadlines, creativity, and inspiration are everything. Monica, while deeply artistic herself, also values stability, connection, and a sense of routine that Tim's unpredictable lifestyle could not always provide. Over time, these differences, which once complemented each other, started creating tension. What had been excitement and charm now sometimes felt like incompatibility. Personal growth also played a role. Over 3 years, both Tim and Monica evolved as individuals. Experiences, opportunities, and reflections changed their perspectives. Sometimes, love is not just about holding on to someone, but recognizing when paths are diverging. Even with respect and care, it became clear that their personal growth was leading them in different directions. Lastly, the pressures of public scrutiny cannot be ignored. Every moment of their relationship was under the microscope. Fans, paparazzi, and media speculated endlessly, often exaggerating minor disagreements into headlines. While they tried to shield their relationship from this, constant attention and judgment inevitably added stress. Over time, the combination of career demands, personal differences, and public pressure became too heavy to sustain their bond as it once was. Ultimately, their breakup was not a story of betrayal or failure. It was a story of maturity. Two people who loved and respected each other enough to recognize that parting ways with grace was the healthiest choice. It was a decision that preserved the dignity of their relationship while allowing them to continue growing as individuals. After the breakup, both Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci quietly stepped back from the public eye, focusing on their own lives while maintaining mutual respect for each other. Monica, with her busy international career, immersed herself in new film projects and artistic ventures. She also took time to reconnect with personal priorities, spending moments with family and close friends, finding a sense of balance that had been difficult during the intense years of their relationship. Her public appearances were graceful and composed, reflecting her inner strength and resilience. Tim, meanwhile, returned to his creative world with renewed focus. He threw himself into his films, conceptualizing new projects and exploring ideas that had long been simmering in his mind. The solitude that once posed challenges in his relationship now became a space for reflection and inspiration. While the media speculated about his emotional state, Tim remained private, showing respect for both his own feelings and Monica's. Despite parting ways, neither of them spoke negatively about the other. In rare interviews, they expressed admiration for what they had shared, highlighting the importance of respect, love, and understanding in their past connection. It was clear that, although the romantic relationship had ended, the affection and goodwill between them had not disappeared. They both carried forward the lessons and memories from their time together, recognizing that the relationship had shaped them in meaningful ways. Fans, though initially saddened, began to see the breakup not as a failure but as a mature and thoughtful decision. The story of Tim and Monica became less about separation and more about growth, how two people can love deeply yet know when to let go for the sake of their own paths. In the aftermath, both continued to inspire in their respective worlds, showing that love can leave a lasting mark even when it doesn't last forever. The story of Tim Burton and Monica Bellucci is a reminder that not all love stories are meant to last forever, yet they can still be meaningful, inspiring, and beautiful. Their relationship, though it ended after 3 years, was full of respect, admiration, and moments of genuine connection. It was a journey where two very different people came together, shared their worlds, and left a lasting impact on each other's lives. Their breakup teaches an important lesson. Sometimes, love is not about holding on at all costs, but about knowing when to let go with grace. Tim and Monica chose to part ways not because their love faded, but because their lives were moving in different directions. By making a conscious, mature decision, they preserved the dignity of their relationship and honored the respect they had for one another. For fans, it is natural to feel disappointment or sadness, but the story leaves a hopeful message. Even when love ends, it can be a force that nurtures growth, teaches patience, and inspires admiration. Tim and Monica continue their lives on separate paths, pursuing their passions and personal dreams. Yet the time they shared remains a cherished chapter in both of their stories. Ultimately, their tale is a reflection of life itself, beautiful, complicated, sometimes fleeting, but always meaningful. It reminds us that love does not always have to be permanent to be unforgettable, and that ending a relationship with kindness and respect can be one of the bravest acts of all. Their love was not always easy, but it was authentic. There were moments of laughter, quiet conversations, and shared passions that reminded them, and everyone watching that real connection goes beyond appearances. They inspired each other, challenged each other, and learned from each other in ways that were subtle but transformative. Even in their golden years together, when the world saw them as a perfect couple, they were growing, evolving, and experiencing life in ways that sometimes could not align. When they ultimately decided to part ways, it was not out of anger, betrayal, or disappointment. It was a conscious, mature choice, a decision made out of love, respect, and understanding. They recognized that their individual paths were diverging and that staying together could compromise the personal growth each of them needed. Ending the relationship was not a sign of failure. It was an act of courage and wisdom. It showed that love can be selfless, and sometimes letting go is the highest form of respect for yourself and the person you care about. In the aftermath, both Tim and Monica continued their journeys with dignity and focus. Monica poured herself into her career, personal projects, and the people who mattered most to her, while Tim returned to the immersive world of filmmaking, using his experiences as inspiration for future creations. Though their lives moved in separate directions, the memories, lessons, and affection they shared remained a constant silent bond that neither time nor distance could erase. For fans, this story serves as a reminder that relationships are more than just public appearances or headlines. They are about understanding, empathy, emotional,